This is Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast, episode number 381. Welcome to Whitetail Rendezvous, hosted by Bruce Hutchin. I'm so happy you joined us today, and you're going to find out a lot about whitetail hunting on the show. Hey, on today's show, we're going to visit with Mike Higman. Mike is the owner of Hunting Gear Deals down in Florida. What is so big about Hunting Gear Deals? Where Mike scours the internet and puts together the best deals that he can find for outdoor gear. Could it be boots? Could it be tree stands? Could it be pop-up blinds? Could it be turkey calls? Could it be scent control? Anything and everything that we need for whitetail hunting, he has. And I thought it'd be a good idea to introduce Mike Higman to everybody and have him explain just how huntinggeardeals.com works. Also, to share some stories about hunting those whitetail deer down in Florida. They're really tough because the cover is so thick that you don't get a lot of time to let an arrow go. So having said that, Mike Higman from huntinggeardeals.com, welcome to the show. Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. Hey, we're heading down to Tampa Bay, Florida, and a good place to go in the springtime. And we're going to talk to a refugee from Wisconsin. No, not really a refugee. He just decided Florida was better than the Wisconsin winter. Anyway, Mike Higman is the owner of huntinggeardeals.com. Mike, welcome to the show.
Hey, Bruce. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we tried to get this scheduled for a while now. Here we are. And let's just give us an overview, just a few minutes about hunting gear, huntinggeardeals.com, and then we'll talk about the hunting heritage. So the mic's yours.
Okay, great. So a couple things that I'm really interested are one, in hunting, and two, I love finding a good deal. And I've always been kind of interested in owning my own business as well. So about a year ago, I had been thinking about what I could do online with the hunting side of things. And I used some deal shopping websites for some electronics gear. And I thought, it'd be great if there was a website I could go to that would have all the hunting gear I'm interested in buying, and I could find all the good deals in one place instead of having to go to 15 different websites every time I want to shop for something. And there's a lot of forums that do a good job with it, but they're hit or miss if it's active. So since there wasn't one already, I decided I'd start one on my own, and I got Hunting Gear Deals started.
Now, I've been on your website. It seems that you have hunting gear from every source, from boots to optics to backpacks. You name it, you got a trail cameras. You have everything. How do you scour that? Do you have a Metacrawler or something?
Nope, it's me every morning, and my wife will tell you all about how I spend too much time looking for hunting gear on the internet. So I've got about 25 different websites I check. I get emails, and as time has gone on, I'm getting better and better at knowing when something's a great deal. But it's time consuming finding the deals. I do have a place on my website where people can submit the deals as well. If somebody finds a great deal and they want to get it listed and help me out, that'd be great.
Now, I've talked to yours. Actually showed 381. So I've talked to a lot of people, and I'm not going to give them the shout out right here, but if somebody had a product and they've been on my show, what would be, how would we connect together, and what's in it for them, what's in it for you?
Yeah, well, here's how my website works. It's called Affiliate Commission. It's not anything special for me. It's if you read a blog online and there are links to go buy something, there's a good chance it's what's called an affiliate link. And basically what happens is when you click that link, the website you go to tracks where that came from, and they will pay a commission on what you buy. So I'm an Amazon affiliate. If you see something on a website, click the link, and you go buy something on Amazon, I get a little cut of that. And just about everything that I list on my site is an affiliate link. Once in a while, I'll list some stuff that's not. Just because it's such a good deal, I want to make sure that the people that use my website see all the good deals. And one thing I always do is I make sure I keep integrity with it. I don't list the things that I get paid the most on, or I won't list something unless I know it's the best deal. So I'm not going to only list my affiliate links. If there's somewhere else that's a better deal, you're not going to see me touting the place I get paid on my website.
Okay. So, folks, if you have a product, get in touch with me, whitetailrendezvous@gmail.com, or reach out right to Mike, huntinggeardeals.com, Mike at huntinggeardeals.com, and talk about it, because distribution, we all can't be at the same price. I know I use eBay quite a bit when I'm looking for gear, and I've had very few situations that it hasn't worked out. There've been a
Yep.
couple, and I just had a situation. Amazon ordered a book, and they said, "Well, that person's no longer there." And within 15 minutes, I had a credit and I had the book bought again. So things happen in the digital world for gear. So what I'm saying is, Mike's got something good going on. I'm very interested in it because I've had a lot of people that have asked me, "Hey, could you list me on your site?" And to date, honesty is the best policy. I haven't done a really good I haven't done that really well, and I've got some great friends that get great products that I'd like to, have it work for them. So maybe this is something, Mike, you and I've got to talk about down the road. So
Yeah,
saying all that, go ahead.
I'd be happy to help those guys out. Probably the easiest way with something like that is it's pretty easy to get set up on Amazon and eBay to sell. And I'm set up with Amazon, eBay, Cabela's, Bass Pro, Gander Mountain. The list goes on and on of outdoor websites that I list things from. But Amazon and eBay are real easy to get going if you've got a new business. And one thing with those is it's important to drive traffic. So if they can offer a good deal to my website users, I'd love to list it and share it with the people that use my site.
All right, fair enough. So we're going to move on from that, because coming from Wisconsin, you were telling me a little story in the warm up about this 10-year-old boy couldn't wait till he gets 12. What happened there?
Growing up, I think maybe I must have been just born to hunt. My dad was real busy. He owned a hardware store. He owned a coast to coast business in Waupun, Wisconsin. And unfortunately, as part of that, as a small business owner, he had to work a whole lot because he was it. But he was able to take me out a few times. We went pheasant hunting, and we went Canadian goose hunting a couple times, and I absolutely loved it. And part of where we lived was part of the flyway with the Horicon Marsh. So we're kind of in a suburb area, and there were some cornfields, and we got tons of Canadian geese that would come through. So even as a 6-year-old, I was eaten up with it. I would put on all my dad's camo, and I would crawl out into some bushes, borrow some binoculars, and I wasn't old enough to hunt myself yet, so I would hold up a corn cob out of the bushes and hopefully to attract one of these geese close enough so I could grab it. I'm not sure what I would have done if one ever came close enough, but as a 6-year-old, I hadn't thought that through enough. But I could just not wait until I turned 12 years old. That's how old you had to be to get a hunting license. But things changed. My dad sold the hardware store and bought a business in Florida. And we moved down to Florida, and I kind of forgot about hunting for several years. I got really into fishing, which is much easier to do down here. And in college, I was invited to go out to my uncle's tree farm and do some hunting out there, and I was absolutely eaten up with it. I didn't even get a deer that weekend, but just sitting in the tree stand, doing what I now have come to love, really kindled a fire in me for hunting.
And thanks for that. And then so it got reignited at your uncle's tree farm. What happened up there?
My dad got a deer that weekend, but just the I don't know what it is about hunting, and I think probably anybody that listens to your podcast knows. People always say, "Why do you do it?" and "What do you love so much about it?" And it's really hard to put into words. I think there's just something deep down inside of us that really enjoys it, and just being out there doing it reignited that in me. And ever since then, I've been trying to figure out how to do it more and more.
Now you hunt those small deer down in Florida, you were saying. Now,
Yeah.
let's talk about your DIY hunting techniques and share some of your tips and lessons learned with the listeners.
Sure. Um, I don't have any great ground to hunt down here, and it's also it's a tough place to hunt. So I've mostly hunted public ground the last several years, and it's been a learning process for me. I'm definitely the one in my family who's most obsessed with hunting. So most of my knowledge has come from talking with people on internet forums, and I got started with floridasportsman.com, and then I started getting involved with the hunting beast, and really have tried to soak up as much knowledge as I could. And I'm still building my skills every year, but here in Florida, one of the biggest challenges is finding a place where the deer are. So one thing that's really helped my learning process and my chances are they've got a quota system, which out west you guys are used to that. But basically, if you're willing to wait it out, you can get on a lot better property. So some of the biggest things to me, though, are what everybody says: get away from where everybody else is hunting. Don't limit yourself to traditional methods of hunting the same stand over and over, or just trying to find a funnel and hunting that same spot. Especially through the Hunting Beast forum, I've learned a lot about being mobile, trying to move in on where the hot sign is. That type of stuff has really helped me out quite a bit. Most of my successes hunting, as far as if you want to call killing something a success, have come on the traditional food plot or lease, that kind of stuff. To me, I enjoy that. But that's a lot easier than a lot of the public land hunting that I've been doing, and I've really come to love the challenge of hunting the public ground.
It is fun to match with both people and whitetails. I can attest to that. Being out west and in the hunting elk, where there's a few other people trying to do the same thing, and until you've been called in by another hunter, you haven't lived.
Yeah.
And that's not a joke, folks. That's truly not a joke. And I've turned the tables and done it on other people, but it's an interesting scenario for sure. So when you think about hunting and you think about gear, hunters spend a gazillion dollars on gear, but you got to buy good gear. And I know I've spent some money on optics and boots and clothes and stuff. And after one season, I'm going, I don't think so. So now I'm rebuying the same gear twice.
Yeah.
So in order that we don't do that, give us some tips that we should look for when buying gear. And we're not talking about, folks, this isn't an infomercial for hunting gear deals. This is just the real life, what you should be looking for so you don't overspend or buy the same gear twice, like I just said.
Yeah. And I'll start out by not talking about my website. I think you mentioned earlier that you buy some stuff on eBay.
Yeah.
And especially for new hunters, eBay is great. Another thing I really like is Craigslist. You can get an app for your phone for Craigslist, and it will notify you every time something is listed with certain search terms. So you could type in hunting as a search term on that app every time something in your area gets listed for that. That's a real quick way to get some of the gear you need to get going, is by going with some used gear. As a new hunter, a lot of times I think it's overwhelming at how many options there are for trees. What kind of tree stand should you get? What kind of boots should you get? What kind of camo should you wear? There's so many questions, and if you can get into the minimum things you need to get started with hunting relatively cheap, if it only lasts you a year and you change your mind about what you want, it's not too big of a deal. If you invest in a $300 climbing tree stand and realize, man, there's not many trees I can climb with a climbing tree stand around here, I really need a hang on, and then you got to turn around and spend $200 on a hang on, that's not going to work out real well. But if you spend $50 or $100 on somebody's used equipment, that kind of gives you that option. Another thing I would say is shop year round. The best deals I have to offer are not always the week before hunting season. And if you're willing to kind of keep an eye out for the things you need, you can spend much, much less money. And I would say that especially for guys that are looking at going out west and need to purchase, high dollar gear items for a, backpacking trip. Don't wait until a month before, because you're going to be stuck buying whatever's available. But if you shop year round, you can really take advantage of some deals. Black Friday has some really great stuff. But really on a monthly basis or weekly basis, there are really some outstanding stuff. And, I don't know even what's going to be the best sale next. It's really a daily question. Another thing you can do is if you get an Amazon Prime membership, that really opens up a lot of options for you, because you're not paying shipping on stuff. You can get it relatively quickly. So if you do have to get it during hunting season, you're not paying for expedited shipping. And one thing I just recently did, and this is not a plug on anything I'm getting paid on, but I just signed up for Amazon's credit card, which means I get 5% back on everything that I buy on Amazon. I personally don't like using credit cards a whole lot, and I pay my credit cards off right away because I don't want to be paying interest on my hunting gear. But man, 5% is pretty good discount on top of whatever they have for low prices. I guess finally, I'll plug my site here. Make sure you're checking huntinggeardeals.com and follow me on social media as well, and join my email list. I try to design my site that it's worth checking for 2 minutes a day just to see what's on there. I usually try to post everything by 8-9 o'clock in the morning. So if you check later in the day, you'll know what the deals of the day are. But when something really, really good comes up, I try to promote it on all my media channels to make sure the people that follow me know about it.
So, what are your media sites?
I'm real active on Twitter. It's @DeerDeal. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook, or @HuntingGearDeals. And then of course you can just join my email list right there on the website.
So let me ask you this. So I'm looking for a turkey decoy. I'm going turkey hunting for the first time. Yes, folks, I've never killed a turkey by calling it in. I've only killed one turkey, and I was hunting for other critters, and it was springtime, and they said, "There's a turkey," and I had a tag, and I shot it with my 22 250. So there you go.
Right.
I was legal.
I'm going to be going tomorrow, and hopefully I'll be shooting my first turkey as well. So I've got 4 kids, and by the time deer season is over, my wife is ready to have me around to help out again. And usually, as much as I would love to be into turkey hunting, it's more important to me to be a father and husband and a family man. So I'm going to probably get out for an evening and a morning. And you know what? When my kids get a little bit older, they can go with me, and then that'll be a time when I can get more into it. But so you're looking for a turkey decoy.
Right. And I don't know. I know nothing about it. And I only got, a couple of bucks. I can't buy a whole flock. I can't buy the laying hen and the mounting gobbler, and somebody else has got the ground blind, so I don't have to worry about that. I do have a shotgun, but I'm going to kill it with my crossbow. Good luck on that. And and so what would I do? I go to Hunting Gear Deals and put in a search for turkey decoy, or what would I do?
Yep, you can do that. Most of the deals I list, because I try to list the best of the best deals, are only available for a limited time. So now, if it's a real hot item, like maybe like an Ozonics machine, I try to keep some type of deal up as often as I can on that. But I don't want to be posting stuff, deals on stuff if somebody's checking my website every day. That isn't going to be a great deal. It's just going to be average. So the best thing you can do is try to check over time. But being that it's around turkey season, I am trying to list as much turkey gear as I can. So right now I've got some turkey broadheads from Rage listed. I've got a couple different listings for turkey decoys, and those are real good deals. And I've got some ground blinds listed as well. The biggest thing, though, is the best way to get deals on generic stuff like that is to take advantage of some of the percentage off coupon deals that I'll put up. Maybe something like Sportsman's Guide. Like today, for example, they have free shipping with no minimum. So if you're just looking to get something in real cheap, Sportsman's Guide's got good, cheap stuff. It's not the highest end stuff. But another thing is today I've got a Montana decoy up too. That's $15. So there's new stuff every single day. The biggest thing I would tell you is check it frequently if you're looking for something. But And always check before you're going to buy something. If you're about to buy something, at least check the site and make sure there's not something listed for less.
Do you use push technology? What I mean is, so I'm going turkey hunting. So I just on the phone app or something, just say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. Just like you said with Craigslist. So I could be alerted. I could get alerts from you when you post my turkey decoy.
Not yet. I'd love to be making enough money with this website to have that developed, though. That's a great idea. For now, my push technology is me searching every morning and listing it up.
Okay. So you truly are a small business.
I'm it.
Just like my podcast, folks. I'm the host and executive producer. Whoopee!
It's the American dream, right?
Oh, you got it. You got it. And you think about that, and folks, I already said this. Buy the best gear you can. I don't care if you're just going to hunt your back 40, and just buy the best gear you can. Because I remember I went on a sheep hunt this summer, and I used a Bushnell stalker spotting scope that I've had since the first time I went out west, and that was in the 70s. And it still works today. Is it the best optics today? No, but it was light. We could set it up easy, and we could see. I mean, it got the job done. Yeah, I've got much better optics than that today, but it still got the job. And for what I paid for it, I have no cost in that at all. So just, buy the best you can. And you think about, whitetail hunting and DIY in Florida. I've heard so many about the palmetto, plants, and the deer are so small. How do you actually hunt those critters down there?
Well, one thing is a lot of times you're going to have to make sure your feet get wet. There's a lot of swamp, and the deer aren't afraid to get their feet wet. So you got to be willing to go in and get to be where they're at. It's I got a lot of respect for guys that can do it consistently with a bow and arrow. Not so much because of distance. I think of archery being real more difficult, say in the Midwest, because you've got to get the deer in close to you to be able to shoot them. But here, the challenge is more finding an area where you can get a shot at the deer. So I've yet to kill my first whitetail with a bow here. Unfortunately, I shot a nice buck last year and wasn't able to recover him. I've got pictures of him, so I know he's still alive. But the challenge is getting on the right trail and getting a clear shooting window. And the areas I hunt are real high pressure, so they're going to be real wary of any scent, and they're going to be real wary of even looking in trees to see if anybody's around.
Interesting. Now, when you shot that deer, did you hit him high or too far back, or tell me about the shot?
I'm not. I'll tell you the story. So my dad has 100 acres up in North Florida that is right next to some public land, and I've got a pretty big family, and we've all kind of gotten more into hunting over the last several years. So my dad's 100 acres gets way more pressure than the 100,000 acres of public land next door. So they kind of hunt around that property, and I expand out into that public land. And I've been hunting there. I believe this coming season will be my 4th year. And I put cameras out and try to find where the deer activity is. And I had this funnel that was in between a couple swamps, a dry spot, and it was middle of October, which in that area is when the rut is. And got set up early, and just after first light, I heard some grunting, and I saw some bushes shaking, and got real excited. And then I see a doe. And a couple minutes later, I see some antler tines sticking out. I start getting real excited. The doe skirts around behind me, which is downwind, and she actually goes into the water, into the swamp. And the buck starts working that way. And once he comes out in the open, I recognize him. He's the biggest buck I've got on camera. He's an 8-pointer with a couple stickers, which, for the areas I hunt is a really, really good buck. So the doe crossed through one of my shooting lanes, and I was expecting the buck to follow right behind her. So he got behind a tree, and I drew, and he just stood there and stood there and stood there. And finally I let down. I couldn't wait any longer. And he turned around and started walking down a trail, which is the exact trail that I had set up on. There was a scrape on it. So things were working perfectly. He stepped behind a tree. I drew back again. And this is probably, I think it was like 17 yards. It was a chip shot. I put the pin on him, let it go, and I can't tell you why it happened this way, but I'm pretty sure I hit him right in the shoulder. The last thing I remember seeing is my lighted knock in front of his neck, and the arrow stopped, and he runs off. And immediately I thought, oh man, that's not good. So I got on Facebook on my phone and found a guy with a blood tracking dog, and I called him out, and he was able to come out within an hour. So brought him out, and I'll shorten the story up from here. His dog jumped that deer 3 different times. He never found the arrow or anything, and he basically came back and said, "Hey, listen, that deer is not going to die. It's running perfectly fine." And I went back later myself and blood tracked it, and I had at least 12 inches of blood on that arrow. So the only thing I could think that happened, the bow I'm shooting was only 60 pounds. I think maybe I hit him in the shoulder, and it angled so that the lighted knock was showing in front of his neck, but really the arrow is facing backwards. So live and learn. I was real excited to be able to get on a deer like that on public ground. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to seal the deal though.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. So to recap, we get the families, 100 acres, which everybody hunts, and they've got their 1 or 2 stands, and they're pounding the deer because it doesn't matter how many people you put on 100 acres. Sometimes one's enough if the wind's wrong. Then so you went across the fence and got into the public land. How can you keep the people from stealing your tree stand or taking your trail cameras on public land?
I could give you a lot of advice on trail cameras. I actually had my first trail camera stolen this year, unfortunately. I've been hunting public land for 5 years, putting trail cameras out, and there was a learning curve with it. When I first started hunting public land, I tried to find some sign, but tried to find where people would not be and tried to hide my camera the best possible. And what I was running into is I wasn't getting very good intel and very good pictures because, I was basically trying to hide the camera more than I was trying to get pictures. So basically I decided, hey, what's the point in having these cameras if I'm not willing to risk it a little bit? So I try to hunt where nobody else is anyway. So hopefully if I start getting pictures of people on a camera, then I'm moving my camera anyway, because that's not an area I'm going to be interested in hunting. But I found that hanging them high in the tree, I tried to, a lot of times I'll even bring a climbing stick in and set it up high and angle that camera down. Most people aren't looking, 10 feet up in a tree or even 8 feet up in a tree. Most people are looking, ground level. That helps hide your camera. And staying off the main trail, I won't put a camera on a main trail other than this one that just got stolen. I had a weekend hunt in an area and on a property that doesn't see many people, but there was an archery hunt the weekend before. So I felt safe. I used a lock on the tree, and obviously that wasn't enough. Somebody must have cut my lock and took my camera, but that was one of my older ones. So I would rather risk getting some cameras stolen once in a while and actually get good intel than trying to hide the cameras is what I learned. But if you put it high, a lot less people are going to see it. And another thing is the deer are less likely to see it. I've had situations where, you put that camera low and you get a couple pictures of deer running off. Well, you don't see those deer anymore after that. But you put it high, they're a lot less likely to see it. As far as the tree stands go, I'm mobile with my setup. I don't ever leave a tree, and so I'll either bring a climber or a hang on stand, and it goes in on my back. And when I'm done hunting, it comes back out.
One thing I want to just address the cameras. One, if you're going to hunt in public land, on public land, then a couple of things. One, post your low camera, get the most economical one you can get, buy them used, go to hunting gear deals or whatever, and get basically a throwaway. If you lose it, it's fine. Then go opposite that and don't get 10 feet. Get 20 feet in the air and aim your camera right down on the trail camera. And so if somebody's not going to climb 20 feet, They
Yeah.
really won't, because they know they're stealing your stuff anyway. They may, or they might cut down the tree. I don't know. But so you're going to do a 2 camera set. It does 2 things. It gives you a wider angle. And on some of the good cameras today, you can really, they can focus in and they can get you a 20-foot high shot. They can.
Hmm.
The good ones today. So you get the lower one, that's a throwaway. You get the higher one, that's got a wider angle, and it'll catch somebody. Is that going to help you catch the person? No, but it you can post it on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and say, hey, on X farm, State Farm, blah 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 blah, off road, blah 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 blah. Somehow my camera disappeared, and if you're this guy, would you just put it back where you found it, and
Hmm.
that'll be that. And you never know, but it is a problem throughout the United States of people, even out west. We're using trail cameras more and more for elk because surprisingly they're a lot like whitetails. So if you find them in an area, they're going to stay there until they get blown out or the weather changes and they have to move for feed. So that's my 2 cents on that. Your
If
thoughts?
if you're new to, I think that's a great idea. And one thing guys will do is put a dummy camera, so you're not even spending money on your camera. If you know that there's somebody out there, this goes public or private. If there's people stealing stuff, you don't have to put a good camera as bait. You just put a broken camera as bait, and that way you're not really risking losing that one camera. That's one good way to catch people. To add for people that are new to trail cameras, and I've debated with people about this, so some people feel other ways, but I would rather somebody take their camera budget and buy several low cost cameras just to get started. And those low cost cameras, you're probably going to have some problems with them, and it could be frustrating. But the good thing is you're going to cover a lot more area. And once you feel like you've got the right amount of cameras to cover your hunting area, then I would start upgrading those cameras with the black flash and the faster flashes and that kind of stuff. I just find it's real difficult if you only have one camera, unless you're just hanging it on a feeder or somewhere where they're going to be. I use cameras for scouting, so the more I can get out there, that's the more intel I can get. And if I get maybe some blurry pictures or something, that's better than not having a camera there at all. And then I'll put one of my better cameras on it. As time goes passes, right now I'm running probably 8 or 10 cameras. Every time I get a new camera, it's an upgrade over my last ones. But just to get started, you can get game cameras for around $50. Maybe might be one of those situations where it's worth spending $70 a camera. And those $400 or $500 cameras are awesome cameras. But you could be running 8 cameras for that same price, and even if 2 of them only last you a year, it's just a better way to get started, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I'm going to give a shout out for Deer Lab, John Livingston. He's from Florida, and what he does, he takes all your information and he gives you a report. It's online, and you can have a complete journal of every single photo, weather, rain, snow, sleet, hail, wind direction, barometer, moon, everything. And John was on the show when I first started, so shout out for John Livingston from Deer Lab.
Yeah, I think I've spoken with John. I think that's a really neat program. If you've got one tract of land that you're consistently hunting, I think that's a great program to be using. If you've got several trail cameras, you could track single bucks, that type of thing.
Well, Mike, we're at the point in the show that you got a minute or so to give some shout outs, and then we're going to call it a wrap.
Yeah, that'd be great. I guess I'd like to start out by thanking a few guys that have helped me get started. Some of these guys, Dan Johnson from the Nine Finger Chronicles podcast, Alex Comstock from Whitetail DNA, and Ryan Lisson from Zero to Hunt. When you're starting a new business, sometimes it's hard to get your name out there, and I'm going to add you to that list too, Bruce. I appreciate you having me on on your podcast.
Hey, it's my pleasure, Alex Comstock. He's really interesting guy, and he did a great series for me on shed hunting. So props to you and Dan, Nine Finger Chronicles. Just a heck of a guy, and he's co-host with Mark Kenyon on Wired to Hunt. So there's some great people in the industry. If you're not listening to those guys' podcasts, you ought to, because they share great information every time they put up a new show. So with that, Mike Higman, thank you so much for tuning in with me from Tampa Bay, Florida. and he's got a great business going called Hunting Gear Deals. Can be found at www.huntinggeardeals. Mike, thanks so much on behalf of thousands of listeners across North America for being a guest on Whitetail Rendezvous.
Thanks a lot, Bruce.
Don't forget to listen to the next episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. We're going to head out to Western New York and around the Buffalo area, and we're going to connect with Tyler Skronsky, founder of HIT Team Outdoors. HIT is spelled HIIT. What does that stand for? Honor, integrity, instinct, and tradition. Tyler's going to tell us all about that and more. So stay tuned. It's going to be a great show.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.